Etymology and historical origin of the baby name Myles. Myles is a variant spelling of Miles. We know that Myles is of Norman origin, but it can't be derived from any specific Old French or Germanic word. It could have come from an altered pet form of Michael, meaning who is like God. See Michael. The Latin word Miles means soldier or some such military attribute due to its association with Michael, the soldier angel of God. It could also be connected to the Slavic element mil, which means grace, favor, brought to England by way of the Vikings. Lastly, Myles could also be the anglicized form of the Irish name Maolra from the earlier Maolra, meaning devotee of Mary. Whatever the origin, the name has been in use in England since the 16th century, but in America, it is probably mostly associated with the Mayflower passenger Myles Standish and the great jazz musician Miles Davis. Personality of the boy named Myles. The number 2 personality in numerology is all about cooperation and balance. It's the number of diplomats and mediators. They are not leaders, but strive rather for harmony in partnerships. These are the peacemakers. Equality and fairness are important in their dealings, and they are willing to share power and responsibility to achieve a harmonious outcome. This personality is calm and patient, waiting for things to evolve instead of pushing aggressively for an outcome. They are good-natured and easygoing, and care deeply on an emotional and spiritual plane. 2s appreciate beauty and nature and are intent on making the world a better place. Popularity of the boy named Myles. The name Myles has enjoyed more success in America than the spelling variant Miles. Nonetheless, Myles has held its own on the U.S. naming charts for well over 100 years. Myles had pretty low usage rates until the mid-1970s when it began to take off up the charts with a little more intensity. The name saw its biggest jumps on the charts in the 1980s. Today, Myles is a medium favorite. It's bestowed upon roughly 1,500 baby boys each year. By comparison, the number 1 favorite is given to about 20,000 baby boys a year. Whether you spell it Myles or Miles, the name is one cool cat, no denying that. Jazzy, lively, interesting. We expect this one to keep soldiering on. Quick facts on Myles. Gender, boy. Origin, English. Number of syllables, 1. Ranking popularity, 224. Pronunciation, Myles. Simple meaning, soldier. Characteristics of Myles. Considerate, balanced, sensitive, patient, cooperative, nurturing, loving, gracious, kind, compassionate. Cultural references to the baby name Myles. Literary characters of the baby name Myles. The Courtship of Myles Standish is a narrative poem written by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow in 1858. The poem is set in the early days of Plymouth Colony, settled by pilgrims fresh off the Mayflower ship, and during a time of Native American unrest, 1621. It is the story of a love triangle between Myles Standish, Priscilla Mullins, and John Alden, and is said to be true and passed to Longfellow, an Alden descendant, through oral tradition. Captain Myles Standish is the middle-aged, brave, swaggering military hero, if a bit rough around the edges, and who just lost his wife and seeks to marry Priscilla. John Alden is Standish's young and handsome roommate whom he asks to deliver his, Myles', marriage proposal to the beautiful Priscilla on his behalf, fearing he lacks the right way with words. John Alden goes to Priscilla to deliver the proposal, but is clearly enamored with the young beauty himself. Thus, he innocently bumbles the message, clumsily attempts to recover, and muddles that effort until finally Priscilla makes her famous retort, "Prithee, John, why do you not speak for yourself?" In the end, John gets the girl and Myles Standish's aside, having given his blessing to the young lovers. It's an optimistic ending, a fresh start for these new settlers in this new land. Miles Crawford is a character in James Joyce's 1922 novel, Ulysses. He is the editor of the Freeman's Journal, and truth be told, he is not all that likable a character. He appears in the Aeolus section of the novel, being the counterpart to Homer's depiction of the god of winds. As Aeolus first confers gifts upon Ulysses, so does Myles upon Bloom, and as Aeolus later retrieves these gifts, so, too, does Myles. Myles, we must admit, is not all that sympathetic a character, being an arrogant, boozy, chauvinistic, crude, backward-looking, tyrannical boss, but, and it's a big, redeeming, but, the name sounds great, doesn't it? Famous people named Myles. Miles Thomas, baseball player, Myles Goodwin, musician, Myles Standish, pilgrim. Historic figures with the name Myles. One of the Mayflower passengers, Myles Standish, was an English military officer hired by the Pilgrims as a military advisor for the Plymouth colony. A defining characteristic of Standish's military leadership was his appetite for defensive action, which resulted in at least 2 small scuffles on different groups of Native Americans. During these actions, Standish exhibited considerable courage and skill as a soldier, but also demonstrated a brutality that angered Native Americans and disturbed more moderate members of the colony. One of the best-known depictions of Standish in popular culture was the 1858 book, The Courtship of Myles Standish by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. Highly fictionalized, the story presents Standish as a timid romantic. It was extremely popular in the 19th century and played a significant role in cementing the Pilgrim story in American culture. One of the Mayflower passengers, Myles Standish, was an English military officer hired by the Pilgrims as a military advisor for the Plymouth colony. A defining characteristic of Standish's military leadership was his appetite for defensive action, which resulted in at least 2 small scuffles on different groups of Native Americans. During these actions, Standish exhibited considerable courage and skill as a soldier, but also demonstrated a brutality that angered Native Americans and disturbed more moderate members of the colony. One of the best-known depictions of Standish in popular culture was the 1858 book, The Courtship of Myles Standish by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. Highly fictionalized, the story presents Standish as a timid romantic. It was extremely popular in the 19th century and played a significant role in cementing the Pilgrim story in American culture.